Hello everyone, welcome to the Felix Frame, where we frame the news you need to know. I'm your host Riley Maw, and let's get right into the news. Looking back, on April 9th, LHS hosted a blood drive for students to attend. So here's Elson Kitchell to give you the scoop.
Hey everybody, we're back at LHS Magpie. As you can see at the game behind us, and we're going to go interview some blood donors at our blood drive today. Hi, who am I here with?
Aaliyah, Morphin.
And what are you doing today? Are you helping? Are you donating? Are you helping out?
I tried. They didn't let me. But I'm helping now.
All right, that's good. That's good. Some redirection. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one trivia question to make sure you know what's going on around here. Roughly what percent of the body is blood?
I don't know. Well, 34.
34. Wait, I'm getting a call. That's okay. A little bit lower.
12.
Like half of that.
6.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, who am I here with today?
Lily.
All right, and what are you doing down here? Are you helping out? Are you with a friend?
So my friend, I guess, it's her, my God, it's her first time giving blood. She was nervous, so she asked me to come, so I'm like the emotional support dog / mom.
Okay. And to make sure that you're like the right kind of emotional support, we gotta make sure you know a little bit about blood. Am I right? So approximately, how many red blood cells are there in 1 pint?
In 1 pint?
It's a big on number. Let me tell you that.
1 pint's like, it's a lot of blood. I don't know the proper red to white cell ratio. Sorry, I'm not very science.
I'll give you a hint. It's in the trillions.
It's in the trillions? Did I say like 5? Is that?
Wait, let me get. Okay. It's like a little bit lower than that, somewhere in the 3 range. Give me a point, 3.1.
7. 5. 2. 3.
Ah, 3.4. You got it first try. Who am I here with today?
Angelina Nugent.
And what are you doing? Are you donating? Are you helping out?
Yes, ma'am, I'm donating blood today.
Woo! Okay. Just to make sure you know what's going on down here, we're going to ask you a little trivia question about blood.
Okay.
All right, this one's pretty niche. Just whatever your best shot is. What do you think mosquitoes prefer? What kind of blood? A, O, whatever it is.
I think I would guess maybe O positive because it's universal. They want the best blood.
It's O. It's O. That
It
is
is?
correct.
Yo!
We have a winner.
Yeah, thank you.
Donate, guys. Let's do this. Well, we just got done interviewing, and as you can see, there's some really nice qualified candidates. They're donating blood, so make sure to donate blood the next time a blood drive comes around.
Bye.
That's all for LHS Magpie.
More recently, on April 24th, Magpie, Tatler, and the Berry Broadcast all went to a field trip to Ball State University. So let's see how that went, shall we?
Magpie field trip here at Ball State. This is absolutely crazy to me.
So I understand from talking to the dean that there's nearly 1,000 of you who've joined us from schools all across the state of Indiana, and maybe a little beyond. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We hope that this program will be of great benefit to all of you.
You can meet us, the bus is going to pick us up back up over there. So meet us over there. But after first session from here, these stairs take you up to the second level and the roof will
So this is a link. It's called Add Conflict. So if you guys can go type in your phones addconflictmedia.com.
And if that doesn't exist, you don't want to focus on this new thing. The cover is unique
to this creation, what Jeff likes to call backyard flex.
Your studio is like you're shooting days and stuff like that.
We've gotten so much free stuff already. I'm about to enter my inventory on the video.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of people around the food court area. They got.
I'm Carmela Boykin. I'm a host and producer at the Washington Post, on the Washington Post Universe. There's some social channels. And today we're going to talk about how to edit videos. So we're going to talk about some tips for high-performing content.
Finally, we know plenty of students and parents have been asking about the new policies for next year, so here's an interview with our Principal Michael Millar.
Okay, so recently, well, semi-recently, you shot out an email to students at the high school that for changes that are going to be upcoming for the 2026-2027 school year. I'd like to ask a few questions about that. So I think first off is, how will impact be used in this new model?
Yeah, so going back to that communication, it's really important to understand and know that that process and the decision making had been something, I was very fortunate last year to be here as associate principal and work with Mr. Jones and kind of take a year in to gather feedback and get input and see how things are going at Logansport High School. And so then coming into this year, understanding and knowing that there's a new accountability model that we have in regards to schools that is going to be in place for us, and also looking at the programming and decision making that we have, having a collaborative effort with students and parents and staff members to make decisions on what we feel is best for things as we move forward into next year. And so we wanted to communicate that early to our students and families, letting them know of some tweaks and changes that we feel like are going to be best for Logansport High School. And so one of those things, as you mentioned, is the change to impact. And impact will look much different than what we have traditionally seen at Logansport High School. That's been really, as you know, one period a day, right, on Fridays for 30 minutes, primarily led with a lot of activities and guidance from our guidance department and the things that we're doing within that. And so those will remain the same. And what we'll do is we will have daily impact now next year, and working through a schedule that will fit with LHS and also Century Career Center on when that is in the day, but it will be all encompassing for the activities that students are familiar with that have been given from guidance department, along with specific intervention and support for our students that I'll go into probably a little more detail because I think you have another kind of question about that as well too, along with some opportunities for student engagement and activities. And so when we got feedback from students, they talked about being able to be involved in clubs, specifically things that we could do during the school day, because some of the limitations that students have is transportation or after school events, and they're not able to fully participate in clubs. And so we'll have a club day during Impact. They'll be designated for our clubs to be able to meet during the school day. We'll have intervention time with focus that our staff come together, our administrative team comes together on how we can best academically support our students. And then also that may be remediation type things for students that need that support. It may be enrichment type opportunities for our students to be able to participate in things here at LHS that they've not had an experience to be able to do as well too. And then, like I said, events and things that we would have with our guidance department, scholar track, things led by Mrs. Lundy, Mrs. Combs, and the things that we're required also to do as a school too. And then, as you know, last year, we started to implement some things on student recognition. So I think of like our state finals walks, right, where we go through and we recognize those students. So we'll build those into with recognition and opportunities that don't impact instructional time that could be utilized during Impact now that we'll have it on a daily basis.
I feel like probably the biggest question on everyone's mind as of when you released that email is what led to the decision to remove Fast Fridays?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm gonna go back to 2 years now, and I had been tracking what Fast Friday intervention looked like as far as the number of required students to attend intervention because they did not meet the criteria. So going back all the way through last school year and even up and through this school year, we were consistently just shy of about 40% of our students here at LHS that were being required on a weekly basis to stay for intervention. So 40% of our students, and what we're seeing is a lot of the same students that we're tracking that are being required to stay for intervention. And that intervention time, obviously, as you know, is a limited time at the end of the day, and it can fluctuate, right, from week to week. And we really needed to create a system that allowed us during the school day to provide intervention for, or support, I will even say, not just remediation, but intervention for all students at LHS. So it's bigger than just the 40% of our students that we feel like that need to stay for Fast Friday intervention. But we also want to look at those remaining almost 60% of our students and what things do we have in place system-wise to be able to help support them. I think of students who are college and career ready. What things can we put in place to ensure that we have great partnerships with our Career Center for those opportunities that we have? What things do we have in place for students to be receiving support for SAT prep and getting ready for that as well? And then certainly just the courseworks that they take, right? So we have a lot of high rigor classes that students are taking, dual credit opportunities and those kind of things. And so when we know students come, at the start of the day to the end of the day, really, that's the only time that we can control what we can do for you guys as students to help support you. And so making sure that we're being most impactful with the time in which that we have students, and we want to make sure that our students are on campus and we are here in front of them to be able to support them during that time. So the trend really, and as you know, I've been really sharing of recently kind of where we are with the trends, and it really got to a point where we're at 44% of our students that were being required to stay for intervention. To me, to us as a team, almost half of our students being required to stay for intervention seems like that we have a problem that we need to look at, right? And so really our goal is that the majority of our students don't have to stay for Fast Friday intervention because they're making good grades, they're being attentive, they're in class with attendance, and they're meeting the threshold for us to qualify for them to be able to leave. Trust me, I understand that students have an incentive to be able to leave, right? But ultimately when that incentive shows a history and a pattern of over the last 2 years of not meeting what our vision and our goals are, especially now with the new accountability model on making sure that that's a focus for us and how we're best preparing our students to be successful, not just here at LHS, but once they graduate from LHS, those tough decisions need to be made. And again, it was a collaborative effort. And I'm not a leader that just wants to say, this is the way it's going to be, right? I want to get feedback and input. And when I did a survey with our staff, the results spoke for themselves, that they felt like that there was a necessary change that was needed with some structural things on how we operate. And one of those things being how we utilize Fast Friday or how we can utilize it better to provide support and intervention for all of our students at LHS.
So is this an outright removal of Fast Fridays from the school Fridays?
Yeah, so that change is happening for the start of next year, the 26-27 school year, to where we will no longer have Fast Fridays. And think of it like that time that was used. And again, remember, Fast Fridays was not every Friday too, right? And so there were some times in which the students would not even have an opportunity, teachers would not have an opportunity depending on the week. If it's a shortened week, we didn't have Fast Friday on that week, right? So if we didn't have a Fast Friday, then they didn't have an intervention support time available for them to be able to provide for those students. What we want to do is create a system and a structure that we ensure daily that is available to our students and to our staff to help best support. And so we feel like that change from a Fast Friday model that we have to a new model that will be incorporated with impact and how we can utilize that time daily will be beneficial to our students.
Yeah, I believe former Principal Jones said it too at some point when I was doing an interview with him, that high schoolers value their time
They do.
most.
Yeah.
I believe he said something to that degree at one point.
Yeah, and I'll say to that, I didn't really go into depth about, again, I got feedback from our certainly parents, and I got feedback from our staff members, but I got a lot of quality feedback from our students as well too. So we have class officer meetings throughout the year, and this idea and the questions in which on how we utilize the time here at LHS led to me asking some key questions to our class officers that gave me valuable feedback on what they felt like was working and how we could better improve things here at LHS. And to your point of understanding and value time, students also said that they value accountability and that they value the opportunity to be able to have maybe some built-in time throughout the day to be able to do these kind of things. So I think there's the perspective of I value my time, and my time is leaving at 2:13, right, on those Fast Fridays. But there's also the perspective that they value their time with instructors, with their teachers, engaged in the content, and they also value that opportunity even to have independent work time. And so allowing them, because we know the limitations that students may have outside of the school day with family involvement time, jobs, extracurriculars, our co-curricular programming, athletics, that's a lot of time commitment outside of the school day. And so how can we build a system in place during the school day that can give them time, valuing, right, to allow them to work on their academics here at LHS is something that we're looking at with this model.
Yeah, it's a very interesting switch, I'd say, because it's including impact into the day, it would reasonably shorten time in classes as well, yes?
Minimally.
Yeah, so like essentially it would be just not really a Fast Friday, but like I don't know, say like I don't know, we cut like I don't know, like 5-10 minutes from each class in order to make impact into the schedule. So it's an overall shortening of the week as opposed to one specific day. Something along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, so when we looked at that, we have a schedule that we're working through, and we're looking at somewhere between like a 43-minute class period now. The impact time will still remain a 30-minute class. So, I mean, if you look at a traditional Impact Friday schedule, non-Fast Friday, but just having impact on a Friday, that's a 7-period academic day with impact included in there. So that model will be very similar to that as far as what your daily schedule will look like from class to class. We're not doing anything with our transition period as far as passing periods, changing that or anything. We're going to have, like I said, a 30-minute impact time daily. But you think about that, a impact schedule once a week, 30 minutes with Fast Friday intervention, compared to a daily 30-minute intervention time is going to give us greater opportunity to have, over the course of the week, an intervention time because it's built in on a daily basis rather than once a week.
Okay, so we saw this in your email. What led to the decision of keeping students on campus during office hours, senior flex, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'd say two things. One, I alluded to in the Fast Friday conversation of wanting to ensure that we are providing the best support for students while they're on campus, and the best time in which that we can do that is obviously when we're face-to-face and we're here on campus for our students. So the decision is with that to ensure that students are on campus so we can provide those intervention supports, opportunities even, being an all-comprehensive high school and the things that we have to best support them. Secondly, and probably more important than that, is just student safety. I've talked with a lot of parents, I've talked with a lot of students as well too, and we never want the opportunity in which that a student leaves LHS at a time, and we have many students that have flex hours, they have office hours, and constantly coming back and forth between classes or through the school day. And we don't want to present an opportunity of a student safety issue with students leaving campus and coming back. And so that for us is one of the biggest reasons in which that we wanted to make sure that we've made this change. And then certainly to fall in line with the philosophy and the idea of, say, office hours as an example, or senior flex, to be an incentive for those things, but also to give students a space to be able to come together and work and know that there's staff on site here at LHS to help support them. And so in a combination with the student union, obviously those teachers' classrooms in which that they're going to be working with, our Achieve Center, we've designated specific spaces in which the students will be able to remain in flexible environments, still being on campus to be able to benefit from things like office hours and senior flex. It just will no longer be off campus.
So I want to ask, how will LHS be implementing the recent state policy about electronics within schools?
Yeah, great question. And certainly I think you can understand that some of these policies that are being made and or things that are being changed for next year may be school-based decisions or corporation-based decisions. Others are state legislation, right? And so the cell phone policy, we took a big step forward coming into this year with new legislation that came out that required a ban, right, for that. They were given some flexibility in that, and we followed through with that flexibility to allow student devices out during lunches. But ultimately, that's changing now statewide. So the state legislators have came together, and it's been obviously enacted into law that student devices are not allowed to be accessible throughout the school day. And so we've developed a plan, and we're still working through finalizing that as a district that will be put in our handbooks. And again, this is a district-wide, not just Logansport High School, but district-wide decision in which that we're looking at that. And so what we're considering is we know that students have accessibility to their phones to be able to have for after-school needs or communication with families, coaches, club sponsors, and obviously one another. During the school day, that's not needed. Instructionally, we have our focus is on instruction throughout the school day. And so cell phones and devices and making sure that those are falling in accordance to the policy that we have with the flexibilities that we have, but being off, remaining out of student possession throughout the school day. That will be a change for next year to where they won't be able to be accessible, obviously, during passing periods, and students shouldn't be on them. That includes earbuds and all the other electronic devices that go along with that. Same with during lunches. Students will not be able to have them during lunches. And then we're putting together the policy on where students can store them throughout the school day in a safe place that's non-accessible to them. And then certainly the consequences. We want students to be adhering to the expectations, whether it be with cell phone policy or any other policy that's in accordance to our handbook. And so working through what those consequences and the matrix will look like for those students who violate that. But ultimately, we got to follow the legislation and the law.
My final question is, during your email, you said that we'll be incorporating intervention strategies in our daily schedule. I know you touched on that earlier, but could you go more in depth on that?
Yeah, so really all subject areas are extremely important, but when we look at historically some areas in which that we have an opportunity for growth, we've had some in-depth conversations specifically around our math scores recently, our SAT, PSAT scores. And so students are going to see, and teachers as we work together, a more in-depth focus on the data that we have available to us. And that can include student grades and how we're performing on a day-to-day basis within classes. But also things like PSAT scores and SAT scores and other measures that we have from the state and local level to help guide our decisions. So decisions that we make are going to be data-based, And that really led to, like I said earlier, the decisions that we made for next year. It was an in-depth conversation, looking at data and seeing what we need to make a change in. And so looking at how we can incorporate intervention and support time is going to be very strategic on how can we look at math as an example, right? I'll just use that as an example. And students that may be struggling in key courses that are needed with a new accountability model and that we know are pillar courses that are needed to ensure that they are being successful at Logansport High School. And so how can we look at daily intervention, not waiting until a student has fallen behind and they're trying to attain or retain a credit through extended semester or summer school opportunities. Really, we want to jump on those opportunities early and work alongside that student and that teacher and the staff that we have here to provide intervention for them to recover. Maybe that might be in math units, maybe looking at their exams, looking at their assignments and homework, on how we can improve their grade right now, so we're not having students that are close to or failing their core classes that are needed. And so what we'll do is we'll look at that and see how we can strategically use intervention time during impact. And that might be these group of students need to go to this particular teacher during impact to get maybe a supplemental lesson or homework support, or to retake a quiz, or to get intervention, right, in those core classes that they need to help them be successful and ultimately make better grades, attain their credit, and then be ready for certainly graduation, right, at the end of the year for their 12th grade year, or being on track to graduate through our freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And so those opportunities will be important that we look at the data to be able to drive that decision. We might be strategic on what impact classes students are in. So if we have a cluster of students that we know really need support in this particular area, I'll use math as an example, how can we maybe strategically put them in an impact class with a math teacher, so that way they're seeing them daily in math and we're not needing to pull them from another impact class to ensure that they're doing. Think of the model of Fast Friday, right? You guys are given, hey, you need to go see this teacher during this intervention time, then you need to go see this teacher during this intervention time. How can we build that into our systems and ensure that those students are already with those teachers that they need support with during impact? And so that's kind of a broad picture of what intervention will look like and how we're going to utilize that to best support our students.
I also noticed with the removal of study hall and the addition of impacts to a daily schedule, I've heard a lot of people like kind of assuming that will essentially kind of act like a guaranteed study hall in a way.
Yeah, so those are things, and again, remember, that's a great point, right? We're no longer having a study hall in which that students will have for that, and looking at credit recovery. So we had students that may go into a study hall and be supervised during that time, being asked to continue coursework that's needed to retain their credit. Now, how can that time be utilized during impact to ensure that students will have an opportunity to, again, focus on time in which that they need to be able to complete coursework and assignments and the things that they have, in adherence also to what we want the structure of it to look like to best support them strategically with the courses and the content area in which that we need to focus on to help them be successful. And that certainly could be a time during intervention and impact time specifically to do that.
I think it's all the questions I have for you today.
Okay,
Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you. Excellent.
That's all we have for this episode. So I've been your host, Riley Maw, and this has been the Felix Frame, where we frame the news you need to know.